to start talking about football. I do think that it's perfectly fair for him to be the highest paid receiver in the game because, frankly, every year the highest paid such and such seems to change and everybody's confused and nobody knows whose value is what. But the thing that's questionable to me is what the Giants are planning here, because you've got Eli Manning, who's, I guess, inefficient but effective, right? And he's toward the end of his career. And you've got Odell Beckham locked up for the prime of his career. If you thought you've seen something so far, at least according to numbers of previous wide receivers in the past, this is going to be the best of him. And what are you going to get from the quarterback positions there? If Eli doesn't work out, is it Davis Webb behind him for the next 3 years? They obviously probably should have drafted somebody for that position. So I just don't know what the game plan is going forward. When it comes to Odell Beckham, absolutely deserving of this.
Since Izzy brought us to this territory, Clinton, what do you think about OBJ and his fortunes turning them around for the Giants this year?
Well, I think OBJ provides a real anchor for the future what they're going to do with Eli Manning. And that's why, Izzy, it doesn't matter what the Eli Manning situation is because Beckham is back. And when you've got Saquon Barkley, you can afford to have a quarterback who's not necessarily what you think is going to be the future plan because he's that good. Forget the money, forget all this other stuff. He's the most entertaining player in the NFL. And as somebody that watches this league, not as seriously as a me at times, but as a more casual fan, I want to see that guy on the field because of what he does when he plays. It's really not much bigger than that to me. I'm happy to see the guy on the field for the product. Plainly simple as that.
Frank.
Well, he's certainly a transformative talent, but remember one thing, he's only been to one playoff game, and in that one playoff game, he did not play that well. So, yes, you look over the years, who did Eli Manning win a Super Bowl with? You know, the big catches were made by David Tyree, Mario Manningham. I absolutely think, you know what? Pay him the money. He's a terrific player, fastest in the NFL to 200 catches, to 300 catches, fastest in the NFL to 4,000 yards. Absolutely a big-time talent. But right now it's based on potential because he's coming off a season, broken ankle, and he only played in 4 games.
Izzy, back in.
It seems like with these wide receivers, superstar wide receivers, you have to have the quarterback to pair them with. Again, this is what's confusing to me about this. I don't think you don't pay Odell in this situation because then you're just going to see him walk and have an unhappy receiver for a year or two. But the game plan going forward, again, unless Eli's extending his career, or they think higher of him than we think that they do, I don't really get what the game plan is.
All right, moving on. Tom Brady kindly hung up on his hometown radio station, WEEI, when the host began asking him about the new travel arrangements with the Patriots for Brady's personal trainer, Alex Guerrero.
You know, I'm not getting into all that.
No, I understand that. I'm just trying to figure out, because I saw the reports this weekend that he's traveling with the team. Was he on the sideline on Friday?
Yeah. All right, guys, have a great day. I'll talk to you later.
Bill Belichick banned Guerrero from the plane last December. Now, Izzy, what do you think about Brady's reaction to these questions?
It just appears that this is going to be his reaction anytime you bring it up. Don't want to talk about it. Whatever you're talking about is ridiculous. I'm going to move on. This despite the fact of everything that we know about Guerrero. We know about his history and failed attempts at, science. We know about what's going on with Julian Edelman here and his suspension and Tom Brady dismissing that. This is the choice. This is the choice Tom is making. It's making him look bad. It's making it obvious that he's ignoring Guerrero's history and his attachment to him. And those questions are always going to be there. So if he gets tired of asking them, then he should just stop doing these interviews because they're going to keep coming, and they should keep coming, frankly.
Clinton.
I feel like we've got a lot of answers with this situation, though, which is that he's tied to the guy, and that's all that we have to know about it. This was all fair and above board to me. The questions were reasonable, and the reply was reasonable. I don't want to talk to you about this. I'm hanging up the phone. Time to go. My thing is, why does this matter so much at this point from a day-to-day basis of Guerrero's actual physical presence as far as Tom Brady is concerned? It should matter to Bill Belichick. And if you really want to know, ask him about it instead of Brady, who's obviously a loyalist to his own guy. It didn't make sense for me from a line of questioning standpoint, but I didn't have a problem with it.
Frank, what matters to you about this?
Well, it all does. And Clinton, here's the thing. They're interviewing Tom Brady. And last season, a big part of the story was the relationship between Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, and Alex Guerrero. The question is absolutely fair. It wasn't like they, interrogating him. It was a sensible way to ask the question. I don't know why Tom Brady reacted that way. Why is he not ready to answer these questions? He wasn't ready to answer it when he was asked about Julian Edelman during training camp, which is perfectly reasonable. If you're suspicious about the relationship, Tom Brady does nothing to change your suspicions.
All right, Mina, bring us round to port.
Frank's right. Look, the reason why this question was asked, the reason why it's a story is because Alex Guerrero's presence in the locker room, or his absence last season, it's been reported that it was because of Belichick. And their relationship is the relationship between Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, the greatest coach and quarterback to ever do it. Their relationship is at the core of this organization, not only on a day-to-day basis, but in terms of long-term decisions, as was reported last year by Seth Wickersham and John Van Natta. So it's absolutely reasonable that reporters are curious about the status of that relationship. Now, Brady's no comment to me is pouring fuel on the fire. If you have an explanation for it, if Guerrero's presence or absence was totally innocuous, then say so. But him declining to comment to me speaks volumes about the continued tension there.
Clinton, back in.
It just seems like they didn't actually want to know the answer to the question, though. They were really just trying to irk him because Tom is not going to answer that. That's what I'm saying in an interview context, not the validity of the story overall.
Frank.
No, come on, Clinton. They have to ask that question. It's the first time they've had a chance to talk to Tom Brady in his weekly spot on their station. So they can't ignore it. If they ignore asking the question, then the radio station looks bad. Why was he on the team playing? What's he doing on the field? I thought that was all fair, and the way that Tom Brady handled it was not the right way to handle it. Hang up the phone? Come on.
Izzy.
The real question they want to ask is not, was he on the sideline? We've seen pictures of him. We know he was with the team. What they want to ask is, hey, what's the deal with his business? What is the deal with his shadiness? What is he working on, etc.? And they're not going to ask that question. And if Tom Brady starts to pull on that thread, eventually they might get to that question, so he's cutting it off.
Izzy, you had a huge backer in Clinton there. He really liked your answer. I appreciate that, yes. It's what he wanted to have said. All right, the reigning champs are 2 weeks from their season opener against Atlanta, yet seemingly no closer to an answer on Carson Wentz's medical clearance. Right now, it's a healthy Nick Foles under center for the Eagles, and head coach Doug Peterson ain't really loving his team's performance or the endless questions about his other quarterback's health.
I don't know how many times I can answer this question. When they clear him, he'll be cleared. I'm not going to put myself in a box. I'm not going to put my quarterback in a box. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go on a limb, and I'm not going to say that.
Clinton, how concerned should Eagles fans be?
Very concerned. I was concerned a month ago when Nick Foles got injured and they didn't know what the situation was going to be then. And I was trying to explain to people this is an actual problem because you don't know what you're going to get with Wentz coming back. And he's still Nick Foles, but he won the Super Bowl. It's about as awkward a situation as you can have going into a week one. And Peterson is obviously upset about it. He felt like he wanted to hang up the phone in that situation. I think that was more of a personal beef with the actual, reporter than it was anything else. But I think it's a really tough situation, and that's why he's so frustrated.
Frank.
And all of us here know that every once in a while you have to ask the most obvious questions. And guess what? Carson Wentz plays quarterback. You have to ask about him every single day. I understand the coach getting upset. I wonder, too, is he maybe upset at the medical staff, hoping, why isn't he being rushed along? You just saw the clips of him working out before the game. He was moving pretty well. Doug Peterson is thinking, I got to try to repeat. I got to get back to the playoffs, defending Super Bowl champs. Here's my quarterback. He looks like he's ready. What's the deal?
Yeah, how much of this is really about the question being asked, or for Peterson, just about the simple fact that he does not have Wentz yet?
I think he's frustrated with the situation, as all Eagles fans should be, because what we've seen in this preseason out of Nick Foles is that he is who we thought he was, which is to say he's a high-variance backup quarterback. His peaks are high. We saw that at the end of last year, but his lows are low. That's who he's always been. Now, he's going to look better if he plays in week one. He's going to look better than he has in the preseason because there's going to be more talent around him. Notably, Jason Peters, left tackle, will be a huge step up. Vaitai got absolutely bulldozed by Myles Garrett on Thursday, and that didn't help. But you still don't know what you're going to get with Nick Foles, which is why when they're going up against a good team like the Falcons, I would not favor the Eagles without Wentz.
Mina, how much preseason football are you watching?
Serious.
A lot, a shameful amount. Kate.
All right, points for you. Izzy. I'm just assuming you're not watching as much as Mina?
Not even close. Second of all, I don't know what Doug Peterson's problem is with putting people in a box. I'm in a box right now, and I'm having a great time. I don't think that Philadelphia Eagles fans should be that concerned when you're talking about the long term. But when you're talking about this season, you're talking about the Super Bowl defense, and you're essentially delaying being in any sort of a rhythm, guaranteed by like 2 or 3 or 4 games, then there's reason to be concerned. You want to sort of, have this season be as smooth as possible and start to, roll late in the season and into the playoffs. This year, they're not going to hit the ground running. They're probably going to look at game 3 or 4 before they look normal again, and then we can assess them. I think that's where the frustration is, just the delay.
Clinton.
Look, you lost 5-0 to the Browns. That's terrible. But again, defending Super Bowl champions. Chill out, Philadelphia. You got the thing you waited your whole life for.
All right, you get 1 point there, Clinton. All right, Mina, Izzy leading the way because of the yacht joke at the top of the show. Really like that, Mina, so well done. All right, coming up, Ohio State news of the day. Even more chaos over the helmet rule. And Manu calls it quits.
Experts say to eat a lot of fruits and veggies, but are you getting enough of their nutrients?
By the school, 22 pages worth, and determined that head football coach Urban Meyer and athletic director Gene Smith deserved a 3-game suspension for their role in assistant coach Zach Smith's tenure on Meyer's staff. Over the weekend, Meyer released a statement on Twitter in an attempt to clarify how he feels about violence against women, saying in part, quote, "Over the years, we have worked hard to educate and remind our coaches and players of the seriousness of relationship violence." On Monday, acting head coach Ryan Day addressed the media.
What we've talked about is how adversity can reveal character. And I can sit here and tell you over the past few weeks, our team has gotten stronger.
Mina, where are you today on Urban Meyer and Ohio State?
Urban was suspended for 3 games, but to me, the only numbers that matter here are 73-8, his record, because if he did not have that record, I do not believe he would still have a job. The findings of the report were unbelievably damning. They painted a picture of a bad leader, someone who kept on an employee who should not have been there for a number of reasons, someone who lied, missed me with this memory stuff. Somebody who did the bare minimum to protect a woman. Now, he came out ultimately and did say the right thing to Courtney Smith, but I think he showed his true colors earlier in the week when he chose not to do that. My only hope at this point is that when Urban Meyer does come back, that we, the media, announcers, analysts, do not give this a redemption narrative when he's back on the field, because any redemption he has as a coach will not happen on that football field.
Izzy.
Yeah, I find it laughable that Ryan Day there was talking about teaching character with his student athletes now, and the character of their coach has been exposed here. The idea that Kate, you had to say he had to clarify his thoughts on violence toward women. You had to clarify that. It should have been very clear from the beginning. It should have been clear through your actions. And I would just like to see some sort of element of human emotion, human compassion from Urban Meyer, because it took him way too long to get to the apologizing to Courtney Smith part.
Clinton.
Yeah, and there's more than just the football team. This is the school here. When people talk about institutional issues, I don't understand how you read all this and you come out with 3 games, only one of which he's actually going to miss. He's going to be able to coach practice for the rest of them. I mean, look, what Ohio State is doing is showing that they really do not care, as far as I'm concerned, about protecting women as long as that football gets played on Saturday, and that is an embarrassment to the nation.
Frank.
It had been reported that he was not happy with the 3-game suspension, and it was clear when he met with the media that first time. That was a chance for him. Instead of sitting there looking at a piece of paper saying, "Dear Buckeye Nation, yada, yada, yada," that's when he should have addressed everything and looked at it. You know what? I got off kind of easy. I got my contract. It's only a 3-game suspension. That was very disappointing.
Yeah, Mina alluded to it, but the key thing here is that are we going to be talking about this 3 months down the line, right, when Ohio State is in the college football playoff? Right. That's the time we're going to have to continue to stick around this story, and history shows us that it's difficult to do that, which is in some ways possibly why the Ohio State Board of Trustees were like, practically speaking, do we throw our team into chaos when no one's going to be paying attention to this 3 months from now? So even the media also has to continue to do a strong job on stories like these. All right, let's move on. Jaguars wide receiver Marquise Lee went down with what looked like a bad injury to his left knee during Jacksonville's preseason game against Atlanta on Sunday. After the game, the Jags' Jalen Ramsey said he blamed the NFL's new helmet rule for Lee's injury. He said, quote, "You have to be mad at the NFL, not mad at them, but that is how the rule is. People are scared to tackle normal because I guess they don't want to do helmet to helmet and get flagged." Izzy, do you buy or sell Ramsey blaming the helmet rule?
No, I'm selling it. In theory, I understand what he's talking about, but in this particular one, if you look at the tackle, it was low, yes, but it was also head down. It wasn't a regular tackle that happened to be low. I understand. Jalen Ramsey is clearly going to say a lot of things in his career. We got to filter out the good from the bad. This was not the best comment.
Clinton.
Yeah, I'm selling this. This is ultimately the problem with football. It's a violent sport. You can get injured any number of ways doing a ton of random things. I'm not going to believe that the helmet rule is what came into play here, or will necessarily be what comes into play further down the line. It's football. You get hurt. It happens.
Frank.
It wasn't the first time we've seen that tackle. It won't be the last. That could have happened in any year. The helmet had nothing to do with it. It was a low hit, an unfortunate hit, and a guy is out for the season.
Mina.
Absolutely, it's a little guy going low. We've seen that in the past. The helmet rule is about changing the posture, not really where you hit. By the way, I do believe we saw the number of calls decline by less than half. Okay, in week 3, and that's going to continue during the regular season, which is why, while a lot of players have been freaking out about the helmet rule, some of the coaches have been more patient. I think the paranoia is going to subside when the season begins.
Manu Ginobili has announced his retirement today after 16 seasons with the Spurs and 4 NBA titles. He's a 2-time All-Star and an Olympic gold medalist. Clinton, are you focusing more on Manu today or everything that's going down with the Spurs?
Absolutely on Manu Ginobili. He's the best South American basketball player in the history of the league. And even though he is from Argentina, he is the one who was credited with popularizing the Euro step, which is very odd. When it comes to style of play, Manu is one of those guys who you remember what it was like before he was there and after he was there. That left-hand sneaky bang on you play, that's the Manu play, man. Love that too.
Frank.
In less than 60 days, Tony Parker, Kawhi Leonard, Manu Ginobili, all gone from the Spurs. 14 years ago on this day, Argentina beat the U.S. in the semifinals at the Olympics. Manu had 29 points. The combination of Duncan, Iverson, LeBron, Carmelo, and Amari, and Wade, 25 points. That's a remarkable stat.
Mina.
Manu Ginobili made his NBA debut in 2002. The #1 song in America that year was Nickelback's "How You Remind Me." I think his career has aged a little bit better.
How do you get points for Nickelback?
Listen, he's so indistinguishable from the Spurs. He leads, or he's in the top 5 in just about every category they have. So it's hard for me to separate the two. But he's a Hall of Famer, and he'll be remembered for a long time.
All right. Mina's a Nickelback fan. Is he?
Not so much, actually. Yeah, he's an international basketball icon. His game was unique. He was so fun to watch. One of my 3 or 4 favorite players to watch when he was in the league. It's all about Manu Ginobili right now. This guy, I mean, the idea that he won a gold medal with Argentina, absolutely amazing. You can blame Larry Brown all you want. That's a Manu Ginobili in Argentina accomplishment.
He knocked a bat out of the sky in the middle of a basketball game. That is the most incredible thing I've ever seen on the...
Clinton, Frank, I'm going to have to set you to adrift, all right? You batten down the hatches. You guys are now the Titanic. All right, we got the showdown coming up next. We got Mina, Izzy, stick around.
Boats.
Know what?
No, what?
I just switched to Geico.